I've collected 25 Minecraft village seeds for Java Edition today, and we're starting off with this really cool Frozen Peaks mountain circle. It has a village and a cherry grove in the middle, and as a reminder, these villages will only be there on Java Edition, despite parity structures generate in different places on Bedrock Edition, so you won't get them there. Outside of the immediate spawn, there's plenty of other biomes, including some mountains towards the north. There's another blacksmith village towards the southwest, and to the east there's a nice cleared out plains area that's ready for building. The spawn village has a blacksmith and 2 churches, and of course it's right next to that small cherry grove. Usually when I find these mountain circles, it either has just the village in the middle or just a cherry grove, so having both is just really awesome. It just all combines to be a pretty unique spawn location. When looking for a double plains village, I found something pretty interesting. So I had this QBiomes viewer search looking for 2 spawn villages in a big plains biome. I looked at this one and there's 1 village, but not 2, so it was a false positive. Instead, there's this huge dripstone cave opening in place of the village. This dripstone cave looks really awesome too, and it leads to an exposed mineshaft. Just a really cool cave. The spawn village is pretty great too. It's pretty big with 20 buildings and 7 farms. So I guess sometimes a search may not work out how you want, but it can still lead to finding something pretty cool. I have a hillside Savanna village here as it generates right on the edge of a plateau. A few buildings generate on top of the plateau here, with the rest down at the bottom and 1 on the hillside. I really wanted to show this seed because it has 2 blacksmiths. There's absolutely no data behind this, but from my experience, I find Savanna villages to be the most difficult to find blacksmiths, so having 2 in this one is awesome. So I've got a plains village here. You can see it's a really big plains biome. There's also a pillager outpost and a ruined portal over there, and 1 more village at the edge of my render distance. The spawn village is a bit of a mess. This big ravine and cave opening thing just causes a bit of craziness here. We can see the village well and building here, and right over here there's a house next to this huge cave. But at an even lower elevation, we can find these 2 buildings. Just a couple of cave buildings, I guess. This just looks really cool, definitely a really unique village. If you're looking for a Taiga village, why not a seed with 2 of them near spawn? The spawn is right next to this riverside village here. It has a blacksmith, and it just looks like a pretty typical Taiga village. Just north is the second village. Of course, another riverside village, but this one is on a hillside too. So yeah, that's a double Taiga village seed. The terrain in this Minecraft seed just looks really cool. A windswept savanna meets up with a desert and it causes this hill arch type thing. Inside here you can see it's dark, sort of cave-like with mobs spawning, but it's truly just a big arch. I've been showing this side, but this side looks pretty cool too, even if it's just a bit more messy with the windswept terrain and a village being here. There's actually a blacksmith here that generates with a piece of land on top of it and then a building on top of that. It's a pretty unique place for a village, and overall just a pretty unique looking Minecraft seed. I get cold just looking at this. We get the ice spikes, the frozen ocean, the snowy plains, the snowy taiga. The only thing that doesn't look cold is this cave with lava. This village has a blacksmith building, and I have to say this isn't just a village. Somebody with a good eye may have noticed this igloo. And yes, the igloo does have a basement. If this village and igloo isn't enough and you want more, there's another village right over there. I think this is a really decent option for a cold village seed. I recently received a comment saying that this village building ain't a church. Let me just take a second to explain why I call it that. Prior to Minecraft 1.14, it was called a church, or at least the building that closely resembles it was. There were a few minor changes to the buildings when it was updated. In 1.14, it was changed to being referred to as a temple, but I and many others still refer to it as a church out of habit. Call me an old head or whatever, but that's a church and it always will be to me. So yes, that is a church, and this village has 3 of them. The brewing stand inside makes the villager that claims this building be a cleric. In total, the village has 20 buildings, so it's a pretty big village with, yes, 3 churches. And let's step it up here because this village has 4 churches, and they're like right next to each other. These 2 masons are right next to each other too. There's also a blacksmith and a tannery. The terrain all around this plains biome is pretty awesome too. We got these elevated pieces of land just jetting out behind the village. There's a little water-filled ravine here going into the village, and there's a dripstone cave entrance here. It all just looks really cool. There's a lot I really like about this seed. But first, let me say that today's comment of the day is just village. Leave a comment with the word village and I will give the comment a heart and maybe you'll be featured in my next video. Of course, the first thing I like is the spawn cherry grove. I also really like that big lake over there. I like how there's a lot of different tree types close to spawn, and I like that the cherry grove forms an elevated circle around a village. I think cherry grove circles are one of the coolest looking things to find in Minecraft. Having a village right in the middle is just really awesome. I can picture some sort of build in here, maybe utilizing the villagers, and then out here there could be an entrance through the elevated cherry grove terrain where that cave is. You could even incorporate the lake into the build. This seed just has a lot of potential and could make a fantastic survival world. The spawn of this seed is just really cool. I mean, we get these jagged peaks mountains at spawn forming a circular-like area. That's not really all that uncommon, it's something I show quite often. And the village here in the middle isn't too uncommon for me to share either. And all of that does look really cool, but this open air crater area right here is why I wanted to share this seed. I always like the look of aquifers like this, I just think they look really awesome. The dripstone being all around this area makes it look even more awesome. And these dripstone craters and caves stretch across a pretty big area too. And then the village being in this spot really caps it all off. We get paths in this tree down at the bottom surrounded by dripstone, we get this house here, and my favorite part is this church that's on top of the aquifer. It's just a really unique place for a village building to be. So I really like this spawn area, but I especially like that dripstone aquifer area. The river at spawn in the seed surrounds the land that this village is on. It sort of looks like a moat or something for protection. It looks pretty cool. This village is pretty great too. It has a decent variety for villagers and loot, with a church, library, a tannery, 4 masons, and 2 blacksmiths. You can find a ruined portal and a pillager outpost over there too. Pretty cool seed. There are a few different structures around the spawn of this Minecraft seed. The spawn is on this piece of land made up of plains and sparse jungle. It's right next to another big island with a few different tree types. They're just divided by this river. There are also some other islands around this area in the ocean too, so I guess this could be considered an archipelago. The spawn of the seed is also in this village. It has 3 armorers and a library, so that's the first structure. Heading over to the jungle brings us to our next structure. I will never complain about finding a jungle temple. And of course, the third structure is this woodland mansion. It's kinda cool seeing jungle vines on different spots of the mansion, and I always like finding the hidden room in the mansion's top floor too, and in this case we get this one with the loot in the ceiling. If all of that isn't enough and you want more, there's also a ruined portal over on the mainland if you want to check that out. If you want structures, if you want islands, this is a pretty great option. Ruined portal villages are always pretty cool. It makes it look like the villagers, for whatever reason, destroyed the portal. Maybe they had a bad experience in the nether or something. Regardless, it just looks pretty cool, so I like finding them. The placement of this tannery building up here on the hill looks pretty cool too. So yeah, that's a ruined portal village. I have a village right near a jungle here. I think this plains area that the village is in is a decent place to spawn. The rivers and trees surrounding it make it a pretty great place to build. There's a cool crater here, and over here is a ravine that leads to a big dripstone cave. The spawn village is pretty decent. There's a nice variety of buildings in it, including a blacksmith and church right next to each other. There's also a jungle temple here. It would have been really cool if the temple was flipped around, so this path led to the entrance. Regardless, inside there's some paths that block the bottom of the temple where you can find 2 chests. So yeah, that's a pretty awesome jungle temple village seed. The villages in this seed are not really the reason I want to show it, but that's alright, let me quickly talk about them anyway. Near the spawn swamp and mangrove swamp, we have this Savanna village. I always think it's cool seeing village buildings in a mangrove swamp. Just southwest, we have a plains village. There are a couple ravines near the village, with this opening leading to a massive cave. Speaking of which, over near this water spot, there's an opening to a huge cave too, so that's pretty cool. But now let's get to why I really wanted to show this seed. Going west from the plains village will lead you to this tall woodland mansion. It generates this way because of a windswept savanna. I've been enjoying finding tall woodland mansions lately. This one isn't the tallest I've found, with it being at Y level 181, but it still looks really awesome. So between the spawn villages, the caves, the tall mansion, I think there's really a lot to explore in this one. Let's take a look at another savanna seed now. We've got an elevated savanna plateau area, and down in the crater in the middle there's a village. There's a blacksmith in the village. I like how this building gets cut off by the farm, and I just think overall this is a decent place for a Savanna spawn build. I have a challenge for Minecraft builders. This Windswept Savanna near spawn looks insane, and I'm curious if anyone who is great at building could do something here. There's already a village here on Java Edition, so something like this gives perspective on how small buildings could look around here. This ruined portal does the same, I guess, though it's kind of floating. But yeah, do you think you could include this terrain into a build or something? Go ahead and tag me in a picture on Instagram or Twitter and let me see what you create. This is a pretty cool Minecraft village seed. I mean, it really just looks like a regular spawn village in a big plains biome. Well, there is a pillager outpost on the other side of a lake I can see too. But check this out. This opening leads right to a mineshaft with a village well next to it. I mean, this just looks really cool. Definitely one of the more unique places I've ever seen a village well. I don't know, just thought it was a pretty interesting thing to find at spawn. Let's look at a desert temple village now. Before I got better at finding specific Minecraft seeds, this is something I'd share quite often. So consider this one a certified Kirby classic. This one has a tower conflicting right in the middle of the temple. There's also a farm here too. Nearby, there's a ruined portal, and there's some other biomes towards the north. There's also this big opening here that leads right to a mineshaft, so this is pretty awesome. I think this may be the temple extending down too. And that's a desert temple village seed. Here's a double plains village seed. The spawn is in this blacksmith village, and it connects right up with this village here. This is one of the more difficult double villages to determine where one ends and the other one stops because they're just that close to each other. They really do just form one big village. In total, I counted 31 houses and other buildings. The villages are just in a big plains biome. So that's a really awesome double village seed. The spawn of this seed is in some cold mountainous terrain. Right over here, there's a cliffside village. There's this little bit of the village up here at the top of the cliff, and right down here, there's a shipwreck that generates on top of an iceberg and about halfway up the cliffside. The most visible village building is this one out in the ocean. There's also this one on the side of the iceberg, and we get this ice building right here. And this building is on the other side of the iceberg. With spectator mode, you can see that there's some buildings inside of this iceberg. And hidden over here, there's another iceberg building and a little building here too. Despite all of that, my favorite thing about this seed is the cave openings on the cliffside. They just look really cool, and inside the cave looks pretty cool too with the natural pillars holding up the cave. And I just need to also mention one more time that I think that Shipwreck looks awesome. In the comments, share a story on how a shipwreck would end up on top of an iceberg and halfway up a cliffside like that. I loaded into this world in this cave area near this village mason's house. But the village arguably gets even better than this cave building when we leave this area. Not only do we get this blacksmith, church, library, armorer, and these two Fletchers in the village, but there's a shipwreck that generates here too. I mean, this is just really awesome. An oceanside village with a cave building apparently, enhanced with a shipwreck. I like it, it's pretty cool. I've been kind of obsessed with lake village seeds lately. I don't know, I just think lakes are really great to build around, and adding a village on top is just really awesome. The village feels like a fishing town or something. This little spot of water here is ocean, but you can see it drops off into a big lake. The lake will be plains, flower forest, or whatever other biomes surround it. You can see there's a lot of biomes and stuff to explore around spawn, including that village off in the distance and that Cherry Grove outpost. There's also another village on this hillside near the lake, so having this so close to spawn is pretty convenient. I mean, yeah, lake villages are just really cool, and I think I'm gonna keep finding more. This is a really cool Minecraft seed. We spawned in this blacksmith village, and it has some villager variety, with buildings like a library and a mason's house. There's also a ruined portal right outside of the village, and around the spawn village you can find a frozen ocean, some ice spikes, and another blacksmith village towards the north. And then of course, there's that tall woodland mansion. Certainly not the tallest I've seen at only Y level 155, but I mean, it does look really cool. Seeing it still make the village buildings look small from a few hundred blocks away really shows how tall it is. I mean, I think it just looks really awesome. If you want to see the tallest woodland mansion I've personally discovered, click the video on the left. YouTube will give you the video it thinks you'll like on the right. Thanks for watching, I'm out of here, see ya.